One of the beautiful things about the old style is that it's very smooth, New style hustle is a little bit more broken up, and I think that's why it's different. It has kind of the more like funky breaking up of pattern. Like I said, I feel like the hustle is a very fine art. It's been very fine tuned over the years. You kind of have to have an eye for it. It's like when you go to an art museum, it's more exciting to you when you really invested and you really know about it. That's kind of the case for the hustle. It's a fine art and deserves, all the respect in the world for being a well-formed dance style. New style hustle, hopefully, will be one day kind of on the same level in terms of people being educated enough to know what it is. Another thing that I want to address, people say, oh, well, hustle was always part of street dance culture. And that's true. Hustle was started off that way. But you can't deny that the direction that it went in went to a very technical way. Even the elders that are still dancing in the street are dancing with these more technical forms. They're staying on their N1, 2, 3. It's very smooth. It's very rotational. They travel a lot. There's a lot to it. There's techniques, there's stylings that come from that whole culture and how that form was formed. Same thing with new style hustle. There's techniques and stylings that came from the way that we taught from the beginning. New style hustle is very signature for that back and forth slots. Our slots were very strict, like this way, and that was because we were doing all of this musical freedom in between. So if you're doing all that, but you're being rotated all around, I don't think it would work out very well. For us, it's really nice to just have those clean slots, and then within that, see what you can come up with, see what you can create. What we did was we added a more modern element to it by going off of the N1, not by changing patterns, by doing the same patterns, but just changing the musicality within that. Old schoolers never dance that way. So that's a very clear distinction, because that allowed us to move fast, slow, or deconstruct. Because another thing, the hustle community, they do have a lot of freedom as well. But again, it's a different culture. So the way that their movements formed is going to be different. The way that they played, for example, was more like do the hustle and then stop and shine. That's different than us. We're actually like in between patterns, changing things up. Sometimes I do like to just go and dance hustle. I do like to just be smooth and just ride that N1, 2, 3 beat. I'm not saying that the hustle doesn't have other counts other than N1, 2, 3. Of course they do, but these are known patterns. You know the count ahead of time. You know that this one is N1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever it is. Even when I teach hustle, there's certain turns that have an extra count. But at the end of the day, when we're dancing, we're not stuck on that. We're free from that form completely. And it's difficult. It is not easy. It takes time to cultivate. It takes time to really understand that and get good at it. Back in the day, when I would lead an old school follower, she would never leave that timing. And 1, 2, 3. It's very traditional. That's what they did. I'm not saying nobody ever went off timing like by accident or something, or just when they were like having a moment. But for us, it was very much the goal. The goal was to have that freestyle and to really connect with the music in an alternative way. It's just like two different goals. If you just learn traditional hustle and you know nothing, you truly know nothing about new style hustle, it's going to be weird for you to go off of that timing. It's going to take some time to figure out how to relax enough, to figure out where you can add your freestyle elements and where you shouldn't, because you'll be ruining the flow. It takes time. And Jeff's dance, it did have a connection to traditional hustle enough to where you could teach it. There's a teachable format to it, but it was going outside the bounds enough to where you could be really free within it. I found that to be really, really fascinating. I was really inspired by the way Nicole moved, but she told me early on, don't copy me exactly, do your own background, like your jazz and ballet or whatever you do, like add that into it. That inspired me. The fact that I could have my own voice within this. And that's not to say you can't have your own voice within the hustle as well. But I think new style hustle is enough of a different form. Yeah, self-expression in a unique way, in a way that's connecting more with the club culture, breaking rules, feeling free, not feeling restricted. I don't think the hustle itself is restricting, but I do think it can be kind of intimidating. I mean, there's a lot of rules that you do have to learn. There are people in certain communities, if you go and you're doing it wrong, they're going to start correcting you on the dance floor.